Hey there YouTube fans, AC Productions here, and in this series it's going to be all about brakes. I'll be showing you on how to inspect and replace your brake pads, how to replace your rotors, and also how to do a complete brake system flush. But don't worry, it's not going to be all in this video, because if that were to happen, this video will probably be around an hour long, and they definitely don't want that. So I'll be breaking up those categories, or what I just mentioned, into their own separate video. So you don't have to worry about spending a whole hour looking on a video. In this particular episode, we're going to be concentrating on brake pads. I'll be showing you on how to inspect and replace your brake pads with brand new brake pads. Alright, so let's get to the bike and let me show you on how to inspect your brake pads to see if you need to replace them. Okay, going to the front brake pads, you want to make sure you have a flashlight with you. For me, I use a head flashlight, so it looks like this. This part's in the front, obviously, and then there is a battery pack here in the back, rechargeable batteries. And if I open it, you can see that there is two big size batteries. So let me close that up. And so this is the style I use. Has a little button, has also a few different modes or options for lighting. That's most. So enough about that. I'll have a link in the description below on where I purchased this one, and also on batteries. It's also a good idea to have spare batteries, so when these go low you can just swap out the batteries. Alright, so let's get to the front of the bike and let me show you on how to inspect and check your front brake pads. Alright, so when you go to the front of your bike right here, to inspect the brake pads, get your flashlight and then just kind of look alongside your disc rotor. It's going to be kind of hard to pinpoint, but I'll try to do the best I can. But if you look right there, you can see your brake pad. And according to the manual of the R3, is pretty much where I get all my information from. From the manual, it tells you that there is some wear indicators. And if you look right there, let me zoom in a little bit. So right there is your brake pad. And if you look at that little notch right there on the brake pad, that is your wear indicator according to the manual from the R3. So if you notice that the little arch right there, and if you don't see the little arch and it's already at the edge of that arch, it is time to replace your brake pads. But since my arch is still pretty good and decent, I can just go ahead and continue to ride. But in this video, I will show you on how to remove and replace your front and rear brake pads. So let's go ahead and let me show you the tools that you're going to need to do this installation. And before that, let's go and check the rear brake pads and let's see on the status of those pads. Okay, now that we're here at the back of the bike, let's go ahead and check the rear pads. Again, just go alongside, let me see, get the camera in there, alongside the rear disc, and then just kind of look down there by the rear disc. There we go. And if you could see, there is the rear brake pad. And I'm sure it's just a little bit harder to see. And again, according to the manual, there is wear indicators on the rear brake pads as well, but unfortunately I don't think I can see it through the camera here. It could be that the wear indicators are positioned in a different location, but as far as this positioning goes, I don't see them. But we will see how they are once we remove the rear brake pads and I install the brand new ones. But just looking by without knowing about the wear indicators, if I were to look at it, the brake pads are pretty low, but still have enough for me to continue riding. Okay, here are going to be the tools that you're going to need to complete the job. It's going to be a flashlight of some sort. Like I said, I usually prefer to use this type of flashlight that kind of goes on your head. A foot-pound torque wrench, needle nose pliers, regular pliers, ratchet, a 12mm socket, a T45 Allen key, some bungee cords, your front and rear brake pads, and if you happen to have a small little stool, that'd be perfect, so that way you're not on your knees and working on the bike and you can sit a little bit more comfortable on working on it. We're going to start off with the front brake pads. Also, you will need paper towels and isopropyl alcohol. Okay, first thing we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and grab our T45 Allen key, grab our ratchet, and what we're going to do first is remove these two bolts right here. So let's go ahead and do that. And they come out fairly easy. They're not really torqued down that much. As you're unscrewing the bolts from the whole caliper, make sure you're holding on to the brake caliper as you remove the last bolts. I already did this one. Here it is. We're going to go ahead and put this off to the side. And the reason I say to hold on to the caliper is because you do not want the caliper to fall on with the line. So because you don't want any stress on the brake lines itself. So let's go ahead and remove that. Alright, let's just wiggle it out. Alright, so let's go ahead and move the camera so you guys can have a good position of the brake pad. Okay, so as you can see from this position and this angle, here are the wear indicator marks. One right here, one over here, one up here on the top, and one here on the other side. So next what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and remove these brake pads. And to do so, make sure you're careful on not to put too much stress on the brake lines. The brake lines that I do have on my bike are not the standard original ones. I did change them out to the Spiegler steel braided brake lines, so these will be a little bit more stiffer than probably what you might have on your R3, which could be still the original flexible rubber tube brake lines. So before we continue on with the next step, what you want to do right now is grab your bungee cords, and we're going to go ahead and hook it to the brake caliper and then up and over on this bracket right here. So there's a bracket right here that holds your brake line. As you can see, we're just going to go ahead and then we're going to go ahead and hook it this way. Now the reason I'm doing this is in case if I were to let go of the brake caliper, the bungee cord is going to support the brake caliper, therefore it's not resting on the brake line itself. You definitely don't want the weight of the caliper to be resting on the brake line. Like I said, you don't want to stress out the cable by pulling on it. Okay, so to remove the brake pads from the caliper, if you turn it over to this side, you're going to notice that there is this little clip holding this pin. Now there is two of them. There's going to be one on this side, and if you turn it, there's going to be one after the brake pad. So between the brake pad and the caliper itself, there is another pin. So you're going to go ahead and grab your needle nose pliers and pull these little pins out. There you go. Just make sure you have a good firm grip on it, because they can just kind of just shoot out. And if that happens, if you can find them, if not, you're going to have to go to the hardware store and get another little clip. They shouldn't be that expensive, I believe 5 cents or so. Okay, we're going to go ahead and put that off to the side, and then grab the other one and the same thing. Try to do your best you can on getting a firm grip on the clip so it doesn't shoot out on you. Okay, and now that you got the two clips removed, the one from this side over here and then the one between the brake pad and the caliper bracket, we're going to go ahead and we're going to grab our regular pliers, a little bit more surface here compared to the needle nose, and we're going to, there's this like little notch right here on this pin. So if I zoom in a little bit, so you can see that little surface right there. So we're going to go ahead and grab it with our regular pliers and then just give it a good twist and pull it at the same time. This is going to release the brake pads from the caliper. Alright, so here it is. Go ahead and put this off to the side. And as you can see, there is the two holes that the little pins were into. One right here and one over there. Okay, at this time you could go ahead and remove your brake pads. You can start with the one here at the bottom. Just slide it out and then undo it from the little tube right here. So it'll just slide right out. And there you go. There you go. Alright, so we got that one out. The next we're going to do is go ahead and remove this brake pad. And same thing, just grab it here from the top and then just wiggle it out. It should come out fairly easy. And there it is. That's where the pistons, the brake pistons right here, brake caliper pistons hit the brake pads. So they're like circles right there. So that's this one. Okay, go ahead and put that off to the side. At this time, you can go ahead. There is a little metal bracket in here. I would say a retaining clip. If you want, you go ahead and remove it and clean it out. If you wanted to use brake cleaner, you could, but I don't suggest using brake cleaner over here in this area. I've seen other people use brake cleaner in this area, and the reason I said don't use brake cleaner just spraying it all over, because brake cleaner is a very strong abrasive cleaner, and if you don't cover certain areas, it can eat away, especially on the paint of your rims. It can eat away at the seals of the pistons, of the brake caliper pistons. You definitely don't want that. You don't want to prematurely wear out parts that don't need to be wear it out, you know. So just go ahead and pop that little retaining clip out. As you can see, we can get it out so you guys can see it. So here it is. So if you wanted to use brake cleaner to clean this piece, go ahead and do so, but remove it off of the brake caliper itself. So I'll go ahead and I'm going to put this off to the side and spray some brake cleaner or whatnot on this piece. And just note the position that you had removed it. In this case, as you saw, that I just removed it as so, with these long parts facing the brake caliper piston and these little arms facing down. And if you look at the other side of this, that's how it's held in, pretty much by pressure of these little clips right there. And it goes into this little groove inside the brake caliper itself. See, there's like a little notch there. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and probably get a paper towel and go ahead and clean some of this brake dust off of the brake caliper itself. Okay, so pretty much I didn't have to use any brake cleaner because I was just able to clean this off just with a paper towel. It wasn't that severe where I needed to use an abrasive cleaner such as brake cleaner to clean this bracket. Now that this little bracket is all nice and clean, I want to go ahead and reinsert it into the brake caliper. So just go ahead and pop it back in its place. You should probably hear a little snap as you get it in there. Alright, so now that it's nice and clean and it's already inside, as you can see, now we're going to go ahead and we're going to install our brand new brake pads. These are the EBC Brake Double H sintered brake pads. Now the reason I chose these brake pads is because I wanted a little bit more bite when I apply the brakes compared to going to the OEM stock brakes. Nothing wrong with the OEM stock brakes, but they just don't provide the bite that I would prefer to have from the brake pads. So if you did want to go with the normal OEM pads, I will have this link in the description below for the stock original OEM pads as well. But for the purpose of the video, I am going to install these particular pads, which I also have a link in the description below for these pads as well. So as you can see, a slightly different design for the rear, and this one is a match for this, so this is the front. So we're going to go ahead and open up this package. Depending on your particular brake pads, if you still have a little bit of brake pad left, go ahead and put them together like this. Wrap it with some clear plastic wrap or a zip tie or something, or wrap them in a piece of paper. Keep them off to the side because you never know. If something were to happen and you needed to reinstall these brake pads for some reason, at least you'll have some brake pads to go back to that you'll be able to use. But if your brake pads are very extremely low, go ahead and toss them because you're not going to be able to use them. But for me, these brake pads are still pretty decent, so I'm going to keep them around just in case if I ever happen to need them again. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and open up our front brake pad package. Okay, so go ahead and open that out. Make sure that if you're going to put your brake pads on the floor, make sure you do not put with the pad facing down because you definitely don't want to get any debris in there and you don't want to damage the brake pad itself. So I'm going to go ahead and put it with the metal part facing down and so put it back on the package. Here's how they look like. Same with this one. Alright, so let's go ahead and install our brake pads into our caliper. And very important, you're going to have to reset the pistons of your brake caliper back inside to allow for the new brake pad, because remember, the old brake pad already got used to getting worn down. So as it wears down, the brake pistons start coming out more. So to reset it, just go ahead and one finger on the bottom here and the other one on the top, and just go ahead and push them inside. It should go in fairly easy. There's be a little bit of some pressure to get them in, but you want to make sure that you push them in evenly. You don't want to push one down and then, because it's going to be crooked, you want to make sure that you push them in straight. Okay, now once that they're flush with the brake, with the wall of the brake caliper, now you can go ahead and install your brake pad. Alright, so they're both, as you can see, they are both flush with the wall of the caliper. Alright, so now let's go ahead and install that brake pad. Again, you want to make sure that this little notch goes into that groove of the brake caliper. Alright, so there you go. As you can see, it's the little notch and the groove is already in there, and it's all lined up very well. Now let's grab the other part of the brake pad, which is right here. Gonna put it against the little tube right there. Go ahead and slide that in, and then slide it over like so. So it should just rest right here on the brake caliper, as you can see. Now that we got that part going, now let's go ahead and put our pin back in its spot and put the little clips into them. Okay, now we need to put our pin in place. So let's grab our pin, which is right here. I'm going to go ahead and put it in through. Just make sure that everything is lined up properly, and it should fall right in. If you have a little difficult, go ahead and use your pliers, and then just do the same thing. I'm putting your pliers here and twisting and pushing it through, which is what I'm going to do right now. Make sure that the pin is lined up from the other side too. You may want to push in the brake pad. It's kind of hard to show you guys in the camera, but what I'm doing is I'm pushing against the metal here so it could finally line up over there. There we go. Alright, so now that the pin is in place, go ahead and put our little clips, the two that we had pulled out earlier. Okay, so I wanted to show you this part that you want to make sure that you have the holes lined up. As you can see, there's the one hole right there. So you're going to go ahead and put your pin right there, and then the other hole, which is kind of very hard to show you guys with the camera here. Let's make it zoom a little bit better. There we go. If I turn the camera on this side, you guys could see right there, there is the other hole right there. So just go ahead and slide your pin right here, and then the other one in between the brake pad and the caliper itself. So as you can see, the hole is right there. It's kind of very hard to see, but right there is the one hole. The other one is right here, so let's go ahead and slide our pins in. Now to do so, here is our pin right here. What I'm going to do is just put it in on like so, like that, and then just go ahead and push it down. The little curved part of the pin should rest on the curved part of the pin itself right there. So once you got that in there, it should be secured, and then go ahead and do the same thing with the other one that should go right in there. Okay, once you have your two little pins already securely in place, next what we're going to do is we're going to grab our paper towel and alcohol, and we're going to go ahead and rub the surface of the brake rotor itself. Now the reason for doing that, let me get a better view for you guys. Okay, so now the reason that we're going to be cleaning the rotor itself is because we want to make sure that it's clean for the new brake pads that we just installed. It probably still has contaminants from the old brake pads, so we want to make sure that we just clean it out and have a clean surface for the new brake pads to adhere to. So let's go ahead and get our alcohol and soak up the paper. If possible, do both sides. There we go. And then just probably do like a clamp style, that we get both sides at the same time. So let's go ahead and clean it out. As you can see, all the debris that's on the rotor itself, if you want, you can just go one side at a time if it makes it easier for you. And the reason I'm not using brake cleaner to clean the rotors is, like I said, brake cleaner is a very abrasive cleaner, and by doing so and not covering up the wheel, you can destroy your wheel's finish, and it could eat away at the paint of the wheel, and also it can eat away at the surface of your brake rotor, I would say, because after using brake cleaner on when I used to work on cars using a brake cleaner on rotors, after a while your rotor is going to rust if you're not using it. That's why you see most rotors all rusty, is because the brake cleaner kind of ate away at the surface of the rotor, and definitely don't want that for the motorcycle. So that's why I'm just using something that's still cleaning but not so abrasive on getting the dirt off of the rotor. So alright, so now that we got a good wipe, we pretty much cleaned it pretty well. It wasn't that dirty to begin with. not as much as I thought it was going to be. So now you can go ahead and reinstall the brake caliper on the bike. So let's go ahead and do that, but first let me remove the bungee cords. Okay, so let's go ahead and remove our bungee cords, as we don't no longer need them to support the brake caliper bracket. So go ahead and remove that up. Alright, so at this time, let's make sure that they are evenly spaced out. We'll grab our bolts. Also, I'm really sorry for guys, I forgot to mention about the Loctite. It would be a good idea right now to put a little bit of blue Loctite on the threads and then go ahead and put it on the bike. Alright, so let's go ahead and put the brake caliper in its space. Make sure that the rotor fits nicely in between the brake pads. And again, still hold on to the brake caliper as you do this, because you definitely don't want the caliper to be hanging all its weight on the brake line. So once you go ahead and you put a little bit of thread lock on the bolt, I don't have any at the moment, but for sure for you guys, make sure you do put some thread lock on your bolt. So put some thread lock on, go ahead, put it in, and then turn it by hand until it's hand tight. Alright, same thing with the other bolts. Go ahead, put a little bit of thread lock on the threads, and then put it in until it's hand tight. It's already being held on by the bolts. You could go ahead and we're going to grab our foot-pound torque wrench, which is right here, and you're going to set it to foot-pounds, and that's what according to the manual spec on each bolt. So let's go ahead and do that. There you go. Same thing with this one. Alright, and that's pretty much it for the front brake pads. So now what you need to do is go on to the top and compress the front brake lever, because you want to make sure that they get adjusted to the brand new brake pads. So you may find it pretty squishy that they go in all the way. That's okay, don't worry, there's nothing to panic. Just keep on pumping it until you feel that they already got adjusted with the new brake pads. And there we go, they're already adjusted to the new brake pads. You can't push it in anymore. Alright, so that's pretty much it for the front brake pads. Now let's go ahead and get to the rear brake pads. Okay, now that we're at the rear of the bike, now the misconception is that you need to remove your rear tire to get to your brake pads. That's actually not even true. All we need to do is remove this bolt, which is a 12mm bolt. So let's go ahead and remove that bolt. I already had loosened up before, so I'm just going to go ahead and take it all the way out. So once you get the bolt loosened, just go ahead and remove it. Now all we're going to need to do is we're not going to take the whole caliper up, off like we did with the front, because if you wanted to do that, you do need to remove your rear wheel to do that. But we don't need to do that just to get to the brake pads. All we're going to do is just going to move it off to the side upward and remove the brake pads. So going to go ahead and remove the bolt like so, put that off to the side. Then we're going to just go ahead and push up on the brake caliper to get it upward. I did want to mention to you, if you guys are having a little bit of difficulty to try to get this to come up, you just want to grab the bolt here and then push it out. This is the brake bolt that's, actually moves when you press the brake. So it could be that it's a little bit stuck. Just grab it, pinch it, and pull it towards you, and that should get it a little bit more loose, so you could actually pull the whole caliper up. Let's go ahead and pull it up. I may have a little bit difficulty with mine just because I do have steel braided brake lines, and they are a little bit more stiffer than the original soft rubber brake lines. Okay, so note to you guys, if you guys also have steel braided brake lines, in order for you to do it through this way, you're gonna have to do one extra step to get the leverage that you need to remove this up. Now what I had to do, I think would have been, is pretty much, I would say, the most easiest, if you happen to have a rear cowl over here, is to remove your whole entire rear brake system. It's pretty much what I did, is pretty much remove the cotter pin that was holding it up over here, remove your rear heel guard, and then the screw over here that holds your brake reservoir, which is right over here now. So I had pushed it over here to the side, therefore now it's going to give me the leverage I need to actually lift up the caliper the way I need it to be. So now that I have now that I'm able to do that, now let's go ahead to the next step. Like I said, guys, this is only if you have the steel braided brake lines. You're going to need to do this step. The other option would be to remove this whole piece, which I kind of really didn't want to do, just because I would have to remove the rear swing arm sliders, also the rear swing arm spools, and I kind of just didn't want to bother with that headache. I would say that this other part was a little bit more easier for me to do. But if you have the regular rubber hose brake lines, you didn't have to do that part at all. You could just go ahead and move it up. So next what we're going to do is we're going to, just like the front, remove those little pins that it has. And I'm not sure if you guys could see it. There is a pin on this side right over here. Let me put the brake pad, the caliper down so you guys can see it better. As you can see right here, there is a pin right there. And then there is a pin right here, as you can see if I put my finger on it. So pin right here, pin right here. Let's go ahead and pull both of those out and then get this little bolt out. All right, guys, I wanted to kind of show you what kind of just happened to me, and a little kind of trick on actually how to remove it. I was able to remove this pin with no problem, but this pin, it is a pain in the butt with these pliers. I can't get a good grip no matter how hard I try to like really get in there, because the tire is in my way. And even if I were to move it this way, it makes it even worse. So how to get that pin out? Well, I was thinking about it, and actually I was going to see if I could fit a small screwdriver in there, but that wouldn't work either. And what I did actually was use the little hook. If you have something like that, which is normally to like a hook tool or something for an exhaust or something like that, for when you're installing the full exhaust systems, it's pretty much a spring tool. But I don't have that, but it has a similar design, and it's off of this bungee cord. The spring tool I'm talking about is for, like, you know, if you're doing something like that, you would, you know, put it in there, and then it's a tool that helps you install these springs onto the exhaust. If you happen to have a tool like that, it would be a good idea to use it here, but I don't have a tool like that. But this is similar, and it doesn't need that much tension. So what I did is, I grabbed the tool, or the bungee cord little hook, and then just hooked it over here. Made sure I got it on there, and then actually just pulled it. There we go. And now that it's on there, I know it's not going to fly off when I yank on it. So now that I got it there, let's go ahead and pull on it, and there you go. Now you release the clip, and it actually made it a lot simpler. So I just wanted to share that little snag that I came across, and a little trick on how to pull the little pin out. Alright, so now that we got the pin out, let's go ahead and remove this little guy out. Go ahead, it should just come out easy. Go ahead and put this one off to the side. Again, just like the front, little hole there, and that's where the pins went. Put that off to the side. Okay, so now let's go ahead and remove the brake pads off of the back. Let's go ahead. Oops, they just kind of fell out. All right, so move this up. Okay, so now this rear brake one, the rear pad. Get a little bit better light here. There we go. So just go ahead and grab it. It also has that little spot, so just kind of, all right, so there's that little spot where you need to slide this brake pad out of. So let's see if I can do it while showing you guys. All right, so just go ahead and try to wiggle it out, and it should come out just like that. Okay, let's go ahead and put this off to the side. And then with this other one, just like in the front brake pad, it also has that little notch, which is right over there. Go ahead and pull this one out. Okay, let's go ahead and put that one off to the side. And then again, just like the front one, there is a little retaining clip over here on the top part of the caliper bracket. As you can see, it's right there, and it is super dirty. I'm going to go ahead and remove it and clean it, and then reinstall it right back in. And I also want to show you guys, as I remove it, just pop it out, and just note that the arms are towards you, the little spots are towards the wheel. So I'm going to go ahead and remove that, put that down, and then go ahead and clean this guy up. Okay, at this time, before I put that little bracket in, as you can see, the caliper piston is sticking out. You want to make sure that you reset the caliper piston back into its spot. Again, just like the front, go ahead and just put your finger on two sides and go ahead and compress it back in. It might be a little bit hard, but just try the best you can on making sure you do it evenly. You don't want to press on more on one spot than the other, because you definitely don't want the piston to go in crooked. Now that you got it nice and flat, as you can see, you don't see it anymore, and it's nice and flat with the surface of the caliper. Okay, now let's go ahead and put our little bracket back in its spot. Here is our little bracket, nice and clean. Let's go ahead and just kind of pop that little guy right back in its spot. Might be a little bit tricky, but just try to do the best you can, and it should go fairly and simple. Okay, now before I actually put the brake pads in, I'm going to go ahead and inspect my brake pads. And like I said, it was kind of hard to see the wear indicators, and you can see they're right there, and I still got a pretty good amount of life on these brake pads too, so I'm surprised. Again, I'm going to do the same thing I did with the front ones. I'm going to go ahead and put these off to the side. Again, if yours are in pretty decent shape, go ahead and save them. It doesn't hurt to save them in case you happen to need them in an emergency situation where you need to install them back on. If your brake pads are worn down to the metal or very worn down, you could just go ahead and toss them. For me, I'm going to go ahead and put them off to the side. I'm going to put them like this and then put a zip tie over it and put it off to the side. So let's go ahead and grab our new brake pads and install those on the bike. Alright, so let's grab our new brake pads. Again, if you are going to put them on the floor, just make sure you put them on the cardboard and put them with the backing facing this way. Don't put them this way because you don't want any contaminants on the brake pads. Here's how they look like. Alright, so let's go ahead and get these installed. Alright, so it's going to go ahead and let's get started with this one. And what we're going to do is the same thing we did with the front. It's just that now it's going to be just a tad more difficult on installing them. Alright, actually show you. So let's go ahead and actually... Okay, I'm going to try to do the best I can on showing you. Let's go ahead and put this one in. And again, you want to make sure that you put this circle onto that little notch over there. Let me see if I can zoom in a little bit for you guys. Alright, so if you see right over there, right here, where my finger is right there, that's where you want to put this circle piece on. So let's go ahead and put it in like so. Move this up as much as I can, and there you go. So just slide it in like so. It doesn't have to be all the way, and then put this up. And then with the other one, again, let me see if I could put this up so you guys could see. Here's the brake pad. You want to make sure that this notch corresponds with this little hole right over here. So that hole right here where I'm pointing to, that's where you want this to go into. So let's go ahead and put that in like so. I don't think that's gonna, so just go ahead and I'm just gonna actually put it in like this and then just bring down the caliper itself. So I'm just gonna go ahead and put this one down. It's actually gonna be resting right on the wheel hub itself. And then this one, if I could get a better shot, and just rest that in there like so. And then if I bring the camera to this side, you can actually see a lot better. Alright, so let me remove it so you guys can see right here. Again, this notch right here goes into that little groove right over there. And make sure when you put it in, you actually go in this way, because if you try to go up from the outside, there is this little part of the metal that's sticking up. It's not going to allow you to do it. So just go in this way, slide it in there, and then rest it right here. Just see the little notch right here on it, kind of corresponds with this little L-shaped area. Just go ahead, put it right there. It should rest right in the spot. This part rests over there. Now you can go ahead and bring down your caliper. And since you did reset the caliper piston, it should go in fairly easy. If not, go ahead, pull on this little spot right there, pull it out towards you, and it should slide in place. Okay, there we go. So now let's grab our bolt with the 2 holes for the pins and slide it in. Slide that part in. On this part, you may need to bring up this brake pad up a little bit. Slide that over, and there we go. Okay, now what we're going to do is we're going to grab our little clips, these little small ones that we had removed, and we're going to go ahead and reinstall them in its place. I did want to mention it's going to be extremely hard for me to show you guys on this pin over here, the one that we had a little bit difficulty removing. Make sure that you have not this way, but flip it over to the other way so that this little curve is facing more in, because over here it's like a flat spot, so you won't be able to fit it in. So as you hold it in there, it's like I said, it's kind of hard to see with the camera. I'm not able to get the camera in this little area to really show you, but if you're able to see it in real life, just go ahead and turn this bolt until you get the little hole, and then able to put this pin inside. Okay, now actually putting the little pins in there was a lot more easier than actually removing them. Just go ahead and put our caliper bolt in. Again, sorry guys, I don't have any thread lock, but for you guys, make sure you put a little bit of thread lock on the threads here, and then go ahead and insert your caliper bolt in. Make sure you line it up, and then go ahead and tighten, and then tighten it down to 22.5 foot-pounds on the bolt. Alright, there we go. It's 22.5 foot-pounds. You heard the click. Alright, so that pretty much does it for the rear ones. Now, what you want to do is you want to go to your rear brake pedal. Okay, so now what we're going to do is like we did to the front, we're going to go ahead into the rear and use the rear brake pedal, and we're going to compress it until we feel it nice and firm. So let's go ahead and press it down. It's okay if it actually goes all the way, don't worry. What we're doing is making sure that the piston has in contact with the brake pads. And now let's say right about there. Okay, it's already set and you're good to go. Okay, so that pretty much concludes on how to check and replace your front and rear brake pads. Now, just want to let you guys know, once you replace them, go out for a ride, but do not go hard on your brake pads. You want to kind of ease into the brake padding just so they could start wearing in, and you know, you start getting the results that you want from the brake pads. Even if it's the OEM ones, I would suggest taking it easy on the brake pads. Like I said, no hard stopping. Don't lock up the brakes. Ride for at least between being easy on the brake pads themselves. Like I said, you wanted to give it a good break-in time until you actually, you know, really go hard on them if need be, for an emergency situation, or you know, you need to come to a stop really good. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, smash that like button. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments below. If you haven't yet subscribed, go ahead and subscribe. Don't forget to hit the notification bell. That way you guys are up to date with my latest videos. And thank you for watching.